How you doing, Cleveland? This is head coach of the Cleveland Crunch, Antonio Manfoot, and you're watching Crunchland.
I can't speak for the other guys. I know me personally, just my competitive side. The guys we lost to in the final last year, I don't even want to say their name. But I definitely hope we see them again.
Sure.
There's a lot of heated stuff that took place towards the end of the game, and it got a little bit out of control with the fans and stuff. So I hope we can see them again.
Welcome to Crunchland, where the turf ignites. Cleveland's champs, we own the Knights. Kicking goals, we strike with flair. Indoor kings, none compare. Headers fly, the crowd's alive. Dribbling fast, we always drive. From the penalty spot to the final whistle's call, Crunchland rocks, we got it all.
Welcome to Crunchland, the official podcast of the Cleveland Crunch. And here's your host, Chris Akin.
It is Crunchland right here on the Cleveland Crunch podcast. And I am, of course, Chris Akin. And today on the show, we are going to be talking to the man that anchors the team. He is the backbone of the defense. He is the goalie of our fine Cleveland Crunch. He is back for another season, and he is going to block every single shot on goal this year. That is my assumption. Maybe he has a different assumption of it, but he, of course, is Marijo Musa. Mario, how are you, man?
Doing good, Chris. Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So am I right? Are you going to block every kick this year?
That's the expectation now. Will that happen? We'll see.
Well, we'll let a few slide through. As long as we get the wins, that's all that matters. But Mario, it's got to be a fun time for you, leading into the season this year. Certainly the season didn't end the way we wanted it to last year, but it leaves you guys with nothing but the highest of expectations, I'm assuming. So let's start there. Talk a little bit about going into this season and what your expectations are, not only for the team, but for yourself as well as a player.
Yeah, I think just for myself personally, I just want to contribute the way I have, since this team came back. I'm not the type to worry about my, individual accolades. I put the team first, and, team success is all I look out for. So, through that, all the individual stuff will, come eventually. But, the expectations for the group is simple, right? It's to win the title. Like you said, it was tough to go out the way we did last year, in front of our own crowd. And it was a, great experience. We were very close to capturing that third title, but hey, sometimes that's the way the ball rolls, right? But, the expectation is nothing short of just winning the title, and that's it. Everything else, that falls short of that is considered a failure. So,
sure. I do want to go back just for a minute to the end of the season last year. It was such a heartbreaker the way the game went down. Look, everybody knows you're going to win some games, you're going to lose some games, and hopefully you win the ones in the right order that you need to. That one did not go our way, but it took everything out of both sides to get to there. For you, how do you process a loss like that? And do you hold it, as the goalie, do you hold it more personally than maybe, other players might, because you are the last line of defense between the game-winning goals?
Yeah, absolutely. I have high expectations of myself. I try to prevent everything from going in. Obviously, that in an indoor game that's such high pace and there's so many shots, sometimes it isn't possible. But it's tough to go out that way, right? Because you were, like you said, we were that close. You felt the energy, and there was shifts in momentum for both teams, right? There's times where they would go up and they felt like they had it in the bag, and then there's times where we would come back and then we'd score. So it was very up and down. It was a very emotional night, but sometimes it happens, right? We've been on both receiving ends of being the people that come into someone else's arena and taking the title in front of their own fans, right? It happened in Omaha, in year one. So we understand exactly how it feels, and I'm sure they were very, very motivated to come in and steal that from us. So, credit to them. They deserved it, right? They did all the little things that mattered at the end of the night, and that's what champions do. So unfortunately for them, now they're going to be the ones that are being chased. So
right. Does it fuel you as a goalie to be better, get better angles, to do the little things like, and I'm making an assumption here, and tell me if I'm completely wrong on this. I'm willing to bet that you've looked at everything that happened in that last game and been like, well, if I was 3 inches this way, or if I was 6 inches deeper, if I'd come out quicker, have you done that, and do you see things that you feel you can improve upon for this season?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that for the, a week or two after the championship, I was looking at footage and kind of like you said, right, looking at little things of like, hey, if I took a step here before the shot was taken, or if I did this or did that, would have made a difference. And those things are things you think about, right? And, obviously it's too late at that point, but it's something that you have to keep in mind for the next year, because the margins for victory are so small sometimes, and you don't realize that throughout the year until you get in that position where you're about to win a title or not. And then those little details cost you, right? And that was going to be my message to the group this year. We just started training recently and everything, and it's hard to think about that stuff so early in the season, but that's the stuff that at the end of the day that matters the most. And the teams that can do that more consistently are the ones that typically win it. So,
right on, definitely. Well, Mario, I want to kind of look at maybe a little bit of an overview of the goalie position, just for fans and a lot for kids that watch this and are jumping into soccer at an entry level at this point. Can you explain the differences between the outdoor game and the indoor game, other than just the speed? I mean, as a goalie, are there big differences between being an outdoor goalie versus being an indoor goalie?
Oh yeah, it's a total 180 actually, and it's hard for me personally to transition from indoor to outdoor because for the longest time in my career I've played both. But yeah, I mean everything from the angles to where you stand in the goal, how far you come out, right? In indoor, you can get away with being pretty far out of your goal because you won't get chipped, right? It's a shorter goal, a lot less space for you to recover. Whereas in outdoor, if you're standing above your 6-yard box, for example, or in the PK line and someone chips you, and the goal is so much bigger, it's 2-3 times the size, right? You just think about, the opportunity for you to make a mistake. So yeah, there's so many different things. And like I talked about earlier, the angle play, the decision-making outdoor, you can save a shot and it could go out of bounds and you could take your time getting up and the ball resets and everything. Whereas indoor, you make a save, you have to get up right away because it's more than likely staying in bounds, right? Sure. So there's these little kinks and stuff that you have to, unfortunately, train your mind to get back into one or the other, whichever one you're playing. So.
Sure. And it seems to me as a fan, it seems to me too, just the straight speed is the difference. I mean, I don't watch as much outdoor soccer as maybe other people, but it just seems like you as a goalie have a lot more time to get ready for an incoming player, an incoming surge at you in the outdoor game. Whereas in the indoor game, it can be 2 or 3 seconds. And the next thing you know, you are, 5-on-2 or 6-on-2 against you.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of it has to do with the length of the field. Obviously outdoor it's essentially twice the size, right? Whereas indoor, not only do you have the walls that keep the ball in play, but like you said, a counter attack in indoor, all it takes is 2-3 seconds and a fast player to get a ball hit through to him. And the next thing you know, you're dealing with a one-on-one, and just a couple seconds before that, you were just kind of sitting back there. So yeah, that's one of the things for sure is important. And, at the positions to stay alert in indoor because there's just so much action all the time and things happen in the split of a second. So.
Right on. Now, Mario, I talked to Coach Manfoot a couple weeks ago about the game, and one of the things that he had said to me was that there's going to be some slight changes in the defense and the defensive lineup this year. How does that impact you? And do you kind of act as like the floor or the pitch captain, more or less, guiding people where to be when you see certain situations coming at you?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said earlier, I'm the last line of defense, so I see everything in front of me. Sometimes these guys, in the motion of the game and the intensity, you get kind of lost sometimes, right? And it's my responsibility to keep them organized. But regardless of who coach puts in front of me, at the end of the day, it's still my responsibility to make sure I'm communicating, doing the little things that make their life easier, right? Because they're the ones out there that are putting in the effort and doing all the dirty tackling and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I can just point them left to right and tell them where to go. So I know just through the tryouts and stuff, there's going to be a couple new faces that we're definitely excited about. There's some young, fresh legs that are, I think, going to make a real positive impact for us. So we're definitely happy about it.
Sure. Obviously, last year we had two players that were all league defenders with Omar and Jordan, and that in large part I think is partly because of the chemistry that they have with you. A, is that true? Is it the chemistry? And B, how do you expand on it this year to be even a stronger line of defense than what you were previously?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, speaking with just David Jordan in particular, I mean, him and I have grew up playing for, together the last 15, 20 plus years, right? So we have that chemistry that is very, very unique, right? We don't have to tell each other where to be. We just know the expectation and know our body movements and positioning and stuff like that. So it helps us a lot. Omar, honestly, it feels like I've been playing with him for 15 years. He's so young, but he's so talented and very, very smart, right? So with him, even his first year, he knew exactly how I like to play, and I picked up on how he likes to play, and we just clicked, right? So it almost seems like there's no difference between him and David Jordan, which is a great thing, right? Because we have a good balance between someone that's very experienced and David, and then someone who's very young and ready to go with Omar. So I'm definitely happy to have both of them in front of me. That's for sure.
Sure. Now, Mario, and I know you're going to probably dodge this a little bit just because it's an individual thing, but I mean, you are a very accomplished soccer player. You've finals MVPs, a regular season MVPs, and you've obviously had success at doing this. Does that lead you to be a bigger voice in the locker room for the other players, and especially the new players as they come in, because you've accomplished, at the highest level what you can?
Yeah, I mean, I try to assert myself where I can, right? And, with a team like we have, there's a lot of veterans and there's a lot of continuity, right? A lot of people that have been here since year one. So sometimes I don't have to assert myself because the message is clear from the other guys. But, sometimes when I see things or hear things that I feel like, should be brought to everyone's attention, I do. Last few years, I've tried to really kind of scale back on that a little bit and just kind of put my words in when they're needed, right? Because there's a lot of people that like to speak, and it's all in good reason, right? But I think there are certainly times where I feel like, my voice is necessary, and I know the guys pay attention, they respect it. So at certain times, for sure, it's necessary.
Sure. For you going into this season, what did you work on in the off season? What did you feel like you didn't? This is a bad way to put it. What did you feel like you didn't do as well as you could? Which I know is not accurate, but I don't know how better to put it than that.
I think just taking accountability in the little details, right? There's always room for improvement, especially in my position where there's a lot of responsibility on my hands. There may have been goals where if I just simply communicated better, or the play before maybe didn't lose the ball and we got countered attacked, or it went out of bounds or something, right? Like little things like that, and just really manage the game better for us. Because the 2 championships we won, one thing I noticed was the timely plays that we made offensively and defensively, right? There's times where you make a good play and it results in a positive outcome on both ends. Whereas in the final last year, we didn't have as much of that, right? And we were kind of on the back foot a lot. We were defending, had blue cards at a very bad time, so we're playing a man down, and that's kind of how they caught our momentum. So I think just my goal this year is to manage the game better, manage the people in front of me, just to make their job as easy as possible. So.
Right on. Well, I'll tell you what, Mario, let's take a quick break here to pay the bills, so to speak. We, of course, are talking to Marijo Musa, the goaltender, the goalkeeper of your Cleveland Crunch. And we'll be back right in a second, right here on Crunchland.
Get ready to turn up the excitement at your next event with the Perfect Choice Band, the ultimate party starters in Ohio and beyond. Picture this: 2 electrifying vocalists, a powerhouse rhythm section, and a horn ensemble that will blow you away. That's right, the Perfect Choice Band isn't just another cover band. We're here to transport you to the heart of the party with unforgettable renditions of your favorite hits. From classics to chart toppers, we've got your playlist covered. Our mission? To keep you singing and dancing until the stars fade into dawn. So, why settle for ordinary when you can have extraordinary? Call 440-346-5242 or visit us at perfectchoiceband.com to book the ultimate entertainment experience for your special day. The Perfect Choice Band, where every moment is music to your ears. Don't miss out. Book now and let's make memories together.
Right back here on Crunchland, the Cleveland Crunch official podcast. I am Chris Akin. I am here with Marijo Musa. And Mario, let's talk a little bit about going into this season. Now that I picked apart all of last season, let's dig into what's important, which is what's in front of us. Let's start even before you guys even get on the pitch. Let's talk about where it is. Tell me about the Wolstein Center transition and are you guys as a team excited about it? What does it bring you that maybe wasn't at the complex last year? I mean, talk a little bit about the move.
Yeah, absolutely. We're super excited. The guys all of last year, we just couldn't wait for the playoffs to come around, just to be able to play in front of our fans because, at the Sportsplex, it was always packed every weekend we played, but we knew there was so much more that could be, included in there, right? And we just didn't have the venue for it. So now that we finally do, we hope to have a big crowd, which I'm confident we will. And this year, just from a fan engagement perspective, we're expecting a lot more. And with that comes responsibility from our end to perform and put a good product out there. So we're certainly excited for it.
Sure. Do you think that this may be the final necessary step to getting the rest of the city on board? Because you guys have done everything else. I mean, you've won championships, you've been in playoffs, you win, and you're from here, you live here, winning is what it seems what we have to get here. It's what's missing in Cleveland in pretty much every sport. And yet I would expect that when I would turn on whatever news, I would hear about the Crunch, especially when you guys are competing for championships. And that hasn't happened yet. Do you think that maybe a big part of that was because the team itself was not centered in Cleveland?
No, it could be, yeah. At the end of the day, we understand that, one, you got to put a good product out there to attract people in, and then two, you have to win, which obviously there's a lot that goes into it before you win. And then, once you win, you hope for the outcome of things like you mentioned, right, where you get the venues, you get the fans and all that kind of stuff, you make the news and the word spread, things like that. So just kind of touching back on the previous question with the whole Wolstein thing, we're hoping that really takes us to the next level. So that way, for years to come, that's a place where we call home, and we're hopefully winning championships there. So
right on, definitely. Moving into this season, Mario, there is some expansion in the league as well. Which I don't know. And again, I'm talking as an outsider. You tell me as an insider. To me, that would be scary, just because you have teams you don't know about. I mean, I'm sure you guys all know some of the players, but ultimately you don't know this chemistry and how they play and how their speed game is and how their, man down game is, etc. Talk a little bit about that. Is that nervous for you because you go into a season with unknown elements to play against?
A little bit, just because, like you said, that whole element of not knowing really who they are, how they'll play, what type of players they have. I mean, just at first glance, seeing some of the teams from the West Coast that that have joined the league, I know some of the players just from playing against some of the previous indoor leagues and stuff. So I fully expect them to be very good teams. They're going to be very technical. They're new to the league, so they're going to be excited and try to make some noise. So we definitely know that, at any point, if we stumble across them, they're going to give us their best game. But I think it's all good, right? Anytime a league is expanding, that means positivity, right? So as long as there's more teams joining, there's more competition. Hey, we're all for it.
Right on. For you personally, you joined a very rare, or you had a very rare milestone with the 500 saves, as a Crunch player, which, that's a lot. That's a lot. What does that mean to you personally? And if you had to pick one, if there is one, is there one that stands out over the other 499?
Oh man. I think the one that stands out was last year, actually at home against Toronto. We were down, I think it was 3-1 or 4-1, and we battled really hard to get back into the game. And, we ended up going to overtime. And there was a moment where they had us on a counterattack. It was 2-on-1 or 3-on-1. And they had a guy back post. And, the player with the ball played a really good pass diagonally back post. And I just kind of threw myself and hoped and prayed that I was able to get in the direction of the ball and it hit me. And, we eventually ended up winning PKs and won that game. And it was just a huge momentum shift, because Toronto's a great team and there's a big rivalry between us now, and we know every time we play each other it's going to be a tough game. So at least for me personally, that was a moment that I'll always remember, because it took a lot of pride in that moment, and knowing that it helped us win. That was something that I'll always carry with me for sure.
Sure. Are there other teams that you look at as big rivals, or do you guys not hold on to individual games like that?
I can't speak for the other guys. I know me personally, just my competitive side. the guys we lost to in the final last year, I don't even want to say their name, but I definitely hope we see them again.
Sure.
There's a lot of heated stuff that took place towards the end of the game, and it got a little bit out of control with the fans and stuff. So I hope we can, see them again, and it'll be a good, competitive game. So
Right on, definitely. Mario, you as the goalie, as the kind of the last player on the field, you have, it's kind of like a catcher in baseball. You have that unique perspective, not only of what's coming at you, but even when the game's going on down the field, down the other side, you can kind of see what's going on more than anybody else. Do you look at that and maybe work with coach to voice, hey, I'm seeing an opening all the time on the right side here. Let's work something this way or that. Or do you just kind of talk to individual players, or is that just not your role?
A little bit of both. I mean, I like you said, I can see everything in front of me. So I can definitely see tendencies from both teams, right? If I notice that, we're not playing the ball forward enough or fast enough to our target player, whether it's Mikey or Pugh, whoever it is, and they have an opportunity to be one-on-one, which they're very dangerous in, and we're taking our sweet time, getting the ball forward. That's something in between timeouts, like you said, where I'm able to kind of voice it and see it, because sometimes they get so caught up in the action and, they're very fatigued and winded running back and forth. Sometimes it's hard for them to see it, right? Whereas I have all that available to me, and it's definitely a message that goes on all the time. So I think it's beneficial, right? So if it's something I can see that could help us, I try to voice it for sure.
Sure. This is one for the kids that want to be a goalie at some point, a goaltender. How do you keep yourself focused 100% of the time? Because, you're in a position that you cannot lose. You can't hear a loud noise in the crowd and look up for a second. You might miss a kick or something. How do you keep yourself that hyper focused with so much going on around you?
I think it just comes down to understanding the importance of winning, right? You work so hard every single practice and every single game, every single year to get to those moments. And when you're finally in the game, you don't want to have those mental lapses where it costs a goal or ends up, costing you a game. I've been on the receiving end at a young age. I know how it goes, whether it's at the youth level or the professional level, whichever it is. It's important to have that attention to detail every single time you're playing to just stay focused. It kind of comes naturally with some players. Some players have to kind of coach themselves on it because, for various reasons, whether you're tired or whatever it might be, it's hard to be that attentive 24/7, right? But as long as you have the end goal in mind, which is winning, I think it kind of just takes care of itself. So,
sure. With the end goal of winning in mind for this season, and you guys are a couple of weeks in now in practice, who's more motivated? Is it the guys that were with you last year, or is it the guys trying to impress the coaches to make the team this year?
I would hope it's both, because there's a lot of returning players from the year, so there's very small room for players, new guys to come in and really make an impact. So for the couple that do get the opportunity, I'm assuming they're very motivated, and I can see it on them already. Right, there's a couple guys that show up to practice and their effort is through the roof, right? And for this early on to be trying that hard and you're really trying to make an impression, I do give them props, which is a good thing. You don't want to make the roster and get an opportunity and then complacency starts to settle in a little bit. So that's why I said earlier, I'm very excited for these young guys that are coming on board, because I think they're going to make a huge impact for us, defensively and offensively. So
sure. I don't get the impression that Coach Manfoot is a jokey kind of a guy. He seems very serious. When I chatted with him, he did joke around a little bit after, but he was very, he was very on it. I imagine that's him setting the tone for the team. Is that the tone of the team? Are you guys always focused, or is there some joking around and some looseness, as practices start and end, maybe not during the practice, but, is there a looseness, or is it a very focused team this year because of the way last year ended?
Yeah, I think for the most part it is focused, right? Everyone knows the sour taste that we have in our mouth from last year, but at the same time, you do have to have a little bit of level of looseness in between, water breaks or, end of practice, beginning practice, whatever it might be, for the coach to kind of assert himself and make a couple of jokes, because it brings the positivity in the room, right? No one wants to show up to practice and feel like there's always a cloud over their head and they're being monitored 24/7. So he does a good job of that. I know sometimes you guys don't get to see it because he's very intense on the sidelines and during interviews and stuff, but Antonio certainly has a goofy side to him that that all of us get to see. So
Sure. Last thing before we wrap it up. Obviously, it is a big season for the team. Might be the most pressure going into the season that you guys have had since the Crunch came back. Is that the case? And how do you manage that pressure without letting that pressure overtake not only yourself, but yourself and the team, so that mistakes end up being made as a result?
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think for us this year, it's good pressure, right? Like I said, we've been on the end of winning and going into the following season. You understand that you're getting your best game from everyone. Now we can just focus back on ourselves and say, hey, it's a new year. Nobody's coming after us like that anymore. Just put our best foot forward and play the game that we know how to play. So I think there was pressure in the previous years where we allowed that to get to us a little bit, and you saw the end product. Sometimes we would come short in playoffs, and that was a result of that, right? Because everyone knows, like, okay, we got to defend this title, we have to, and then through that you start making mental errors and physical errors and stuff. But I don't think this year anyone's worried about what happened last year. I think we were going to hold it a note in our head, like, hey, this is the sour taste that we're going to carry with us all year as a reminder. Every game is going to be personal for us, and the other teams will feel it. But I think as far as pressure, it's all good. So
excellent. Well, can't wait for the season to start. Let me ask you that to really wrap it up. Are you excited about the season starting, or do you feel like you need the practice time for the next, 3 weeks or so until the actual season starts?
A little bit of both. For me personally, just playing indoor for so long, my body is not as young as it used to feel. So it takes a little bit for me to kind of get the wheels turning, but I'm easing myself into it. I know how my body works and what it takes for me to get prepped for that first game. But everything will take care of itself. But we're super excited. I mean, what more can we ask for? We got our fans behind us. We saw what can show up for us and the support we'll get. We got the venue, what we've always wanted. Now it's time to just put the product out there and win. That's it.
Excellent. Well, winning, I think, is going to be very frequent in the season this year. It looks like it's going to be a great season for the Cleveland Crunch. Certainly, if you are a fan, or even if you're just learning about the Crunch, get over to theclevelandcrunch.com. Get yourself some tickets to, I'll say every game, but even if you just go to one, that's okay too. But get yourself some tickets. It's a great time. It's a great experience. It's a great day out, if nothing else. But it's even better when these guys like Marijo Musa make it a win. So Mario, good luck in the season, and let's see if we can't erase that memory from last year once and for all. Okay?
Absolutely, we'll change it around for sure. Thanks for having me.
Crunchland rocks, we got it all. Crunchland rocks, we got it all. Crunchland rocks, we got it all. Crunchland rocks, we've got it all. Crunchland rocks, we've got it all. Crunchland rocks, we've got it all. Welcome to Crunchland, where the turf ignites. Cleveland's champs, we own the nights.